This brings us finally to the quadratic formula. So we've looked at all of the other ways that we might choose to factor. Quadratic formula is great because it works every time. So you can't always factor to find a solution. You can't always complete the square and have a nice number to deal with, but you can always use the quadratic formula. So make sure this is one of, know how to factor, know how to use the quadratic formula, you should be fine. So when we use the quadratic formula, and notice I've written it for you here, if you Google quadratic formula songs, you'll find some good ones. Pop Goes the Weasel is a really good way to actually memorize it. But again, you don't have to memorize anything in this class. You can always have it written in front of you, but that's the quadratic formula. Again, you need everything in standard form, so everything equal to 0. Know what A, B, and C are. Plug those numbers into the formula, simplify, and that will give you your answers. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So we have A equals 3, B equals -4, C equals 2. I'm going to say x equals, we always do x equals because that's what we're solving for is x. So x equals the opposite of b. Negative b means negative -4 or 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so -4 squared. And I find it easier just to write the 16 rather than write -4 squared, because some people forget that -4 times -4 is positive 16. So b squared minus 4 times 3 times 2. So if you need to write 4 times 3 times 2, you can. And again, if you need to write the -4 squared, make sure you put it in parentheses, you can. Good to show all of your work, of course. And then 2 times a. Do your simplification. So 4 plus or minus, and again the plus or minus is there because that's going to give us our two solutions. So -4 squared again is 16. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24, so that's minus 24, all over 6. If I continue to simplify, 16 minus 24 is -8. I almost said 6 like an idiot. -8 over 6. Again, I would do some simplification on that 8 because we don't want the negative inside. And I can take out a 4, so this would be like -1, 2, and 4. So this actually reduces to 4 plus or minus 2i radical 2 over 6. And we talked before about how we would split this into parts. So I would put 4/6 plus or minus 2i radical 2 over 6. That reduces to 2/3 plus or minus radical 2 over 3, because again I'm just reducing the 4 to 2, the 6 to 3, the 2 to 1, the 6 to 3. That would be my answer. Because it's a plus or minus, I would again write 2/3 plus radical 2 over 3. Oops. Radical 2. Oh, I lost my I somewhere. That should be I radical 2. 2 radical 2 3i, comma 2/3 minus radical 2 over 3i. That's how Alex will want that solution. Don't forget the I like I did, like an idiot. But you get the idea. Let's try another one together, and then you'll try one on your own. Again, first thing I want is everything to one side. So I'm going to rewrite this, and again, it has to be equal to 0. So 2x squared, I'm going to subtract the 8x from each side, subtract the 90 from each side, and then I'm going to factor out a 2. 2x squared minus 4x minus 45 equals 0. Now I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Again, it's just plugging in values. I'm going to show a little less work on this one. So A is 1, B is -4, C is -45. So x equals the opposite of -4, that's 4, plus or minus the square root. B squared is -4 times -4, that's 16, minus 4 times 1 times 45, times negative 45. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative 45 is negative 180. So I multiplied all of that. All over 2a, 2 times 1, which is 2. And I'm going to continue to simplify now. 4 plus or minus 16, I've got a minus and I got a negative, so I'm actually adding to get the square root of 196 divided by 2. Turns out 196 is a perfect square, so always check it with your calculator. So this is actually 4 plus or minus 14 divided by 2. So I'm going to find my two answers by taking 4 plus 14 divided by 2, or 18 divided by 2, which is 9. And then I'm going to take 4 minus 14 divided by 2, which is negative 10 divided by 2, which is negative 5. When I get nice numbers like this, it tells me that I could have factored it fairly easily. But those are my two solutions, is x equals 9 and x equals negative 5. Last one's one for you to try on your own, so make sure you put it in the proper format and then use the quadratic formula to solve. Once you're done, press play to check your work. Again, I would start 6x squared minus 5x minus 4 equals 0. It must equal 0 in order for this to work. If it doesn't, you're going to end up with the wrong answer. Now I'm going to use the quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of b. Again, you can write your a, your b, your c at the top of the page. The opposite of b would be positive 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared, which is 25, minus 4 times 6 times negative 4, which is minus negative 96. Please be careful with your signs because you got a minus and you got a negative. And then the bottom is 2 times a. 2 times 6 is 12. Then I get 5 plus or minus. I have 25 minus negative, which basically means plus 96, which is the square root of 121 over 12. 121 happens to be a nice whole number again, so it's 5 plus or minus 11 over 12. So to find my two answers, I would take 5 plus 11 divided by 12, and I would take 5 minus 11 divided by 12. That gives me 16 over 12, which reduces to 4/3. And that gives me 5 minus 11 is negative 6 over 12, which reduces to negative 1/2. Again, that tells me this was factorable, but of course I would have to use the amazing factoring method.